you say, Ralph? Okay. Yes. All right. Could you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Good turnout. Welcome to the 48th Annual Heritage Lake Meeting, 48 years. This is my 8th year. Feels like 48. Pretty special year for me. Probably for some of you, I've been around too long. For others, it's been a blast and made some good friends. First, I'd like to call the roll call for the functionaries, meaning everybody up front here. I'd like you to state your name and your position.
A.J. Stafford, board member.
Yep.
Mia Stebbins, board member and secretary.
Rick Miller, board member, vice president this year.
Alyssa Borshak, board member.
Linda McFerrin, board member. Jeff Blades, board member, Purdue fans.
Rick Stevens, board member.
The most important table.
Ken Roselle, property manager.
April Land, office manager.
Jolene Path, administrative assistant.
Vinnie Brown, assistant property manager.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. And thank you for all the work you've done this year and last year. Okay. I'd like to approve the recording of all the previous minutes and last year's annual minutes. We will not be voting on anything today, but we have approved those minutes up to this point. They are all registered in the office. If anybody ever wants to look at those records, well, have at it. I'd like to start with the reports of the officers. I will ask any of the board members if they'd like anything to report as officers. If not, I will go into my own report. Okay? I'll apologize ahead of time if I say too much. But this is my last year, and there's some important things that need to be said, and I'm going to try and get them out there. First, I'd like to congratulate all the volunteers, many of you sitting in the audience right now. Without you, we couldn't do what happens around Heritage Lake. It's a pretty cool lake. Every year it gets better and better, in my opinion. It's safer, it's livelier, and it seems to me that people are becoming even more polite than the general public in our country. And I thank you all for that. We've all respected each other, and we've all been kind and polite. I'd like to thank Carol Bockelman, Rochelle Harcourt, and Lisa Hancock for the music, the lively music. We all get to go over there every now and then for free. Important, for free. They have quite a responsibility to supply us with that music and fight Mother Nature. And that is quite a feat, and we should all be proud of their efforts. With that, I would like to mention some things about the groups that are not part of Heritage Lake committees. And one of those groups is the concert series. 100% of the concert series happens because of donors. Nothing that you pay to the HLPOA goes to the concert series. Every dollar they get, they raise. The pavilion that you see out there those funds have been raised. Every concert, those funds have been raised. There has been last year there was a $25,000 donation to help the concert series bring even more activity into their realm. Hence, they had some jazz concerts, they had some offbeat bands coming in, and they had some artists show up. Those things came because of donors. This year, they have a $25,000 donation, up to $25,000 donation. They will match any of your donations. If you give $100, they'll give $100. If you give $200, they'll give $200. If you give $20, they'll give $20. So every donation you make will be doubled this year because of this donor. It's very important to these organizations, not only the concert series, but HLNAC. We'll get into discussion here before I end on how things are paid for here. And I will use the word assessment many times in my talk today. But everything I talk about assessments, you can take to the bank and it's truth. It is fact. These people that work hard, like HLNAC, to bring activities into our community, they can only do that through donations. We don't pay them to do that. So keep that in mind when you're writing your check at the end of the year. And remember, these activity programs also supply scholarships. They supply help to needy families. So every dollar you give is really a blessing. I'd like to thank next Dwayne Kelly. And I have I wrote next to Dwayne Kelly's name, capital W, capital O, capital W. Wow. I mean, Dwayne Kelly, he's been helping Heritage Lake people since the Civil War. And you can't tell by looking at him or listening to him. He sounds like a 60-year-old guy on steroids. He's amazing. But we want to thank Dwayne Kelly and his siltation committee for providing leadership to dredge and systematically keep every inch of our lake up to scale, safe, and he works hard at it, and he knows every inch of our lake. And Dwayne is not here, is that correct?
I don't see him.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to send him a letter.
Retired with us.
Next, I'd like to thank Rick Miller, Rachel Goss, and Carol Kowalski on their contributions for the Heritage Lake Community Services. People know that as the highlights. Without the highlights, many of you would have to go out and buy books and put them in your bathrooms. It is an informative, fun magazine, and again, it is supplied to you through advertisers, donors, and information. And don't forget the information. Rick would love to have people partake. He'd love to have people send him issues. Anything that you think the rest of the community would like to hear about, send it to Rick. He'll put it in that magazine if he sees fit. Thank you, Rick Stevens, April Land, and all the volunteers at the Campground Committee. What a cool committee to be on, providing safe, clean, and a happening atmosphere for all the campers that are Heritage Lake members. If none of you know very much about the campground, I would suggest when they have a band over there to go ahead over and meet some of those people. They rock and roll. And it's fun. It's really a cool place to go. Not very many communities have its own campground, and it's special. I'd like to next thank Summer Ramsey, and Rick Miller again for the long-term planning committee. Members for this committee will be very busy in the future brainstorming, as they have in the past, new ideas for the community. They are kind of sistering with the new Heritage Lake Community Foundation Committee, and these two committees are going to be very important in the future. They're going to provide the board with approved ideas that they have researched for the betterment of our community. I'm sure you've heard rumors about some of the things they're working on right now. When they become fact, we'll let you know about them. Right now, they're just rumors. Obviously, the theme here is volunteerism. All these things I'm talking about would not be possible unless community members volunteered and helped. It doesn't take a long time, but we need volunteers. Thanks for the Heritage Lake one-man show, known as our government committee. Rick Olson. Rick's here. Where are you? Rick Olson's right here. Rick, how long have you been with the government committee now? 3 years? 3 years. Rick, along with Ken Roselle, are the two men that are really responsible for the increase in the improvements of our roads at Heritage Lake. Our roads are owned, for those of you who don't know, by the county. They are not owned by the board or you. They are owned by the county. We have to rely on the county to fix our roads. But without a cohesive partnership, it is very tough. As any of you are involved in politics, you have to have a cohesive relationship before you can get anything done. And thankfully, because of Rick and Ken, they have established a very trustworthy relationship. And I think you have seen that this winter. Putnam County really paid attention to us this winter, and it was obvious. And I hope in the very near future this continues with the fixing of our roads. Next, I'd like to thank Ken Hoops and the Muhlenbeins, and Mary Petruzzi, and all the other volunteers for the Lake Committee. The Lake Committee means feast and ski, t-shirts, sweatshirts, merchandise, fish stocking, safety, and sheer enjoyment. They just recently voted to use part of their money that they raised in '24 for another security boat, which means more safety. And they also voted to help with new beach equipment, which we desperately need. If you get on the Lake Committee, you'll probably meet more people in your first meeting than you met in your neighborhood in the last year. It's a wonderful committee to be on. Now, if you cannot give a lot of time and you want to volunteer, you can get on the election committee. And thanks for Mary Petruzzi to take over from the long-term Muhlenbein clan that have been handling the election committee for eons. That's a committee you can also volunteer on. It really only, it gets together once a year for the new board member elections, and it's a fun committee to be on. Next, I'd like to thank our neighborhood clean freak, Sarah Lackner, and her volunteers at the cleanup committee. Cleanup committee, if you don't want to use your fabulous personality, and you don't want to use your jokes, and you don't want to use your two steps, and you want to be on a committee to help, go out and clean. Help the cleanup committee. It's a wonderful committee to be on, and it helps us keep this neighborhood as clean as it is. And it also makes money. Okay, on a serious note concerning committees, if you have the time and you want to learn, the Architectural and Environmental Committee at Heritage Lake is the committee that approves every dock, every fence, every house, every remodel. Everything that happens on Heritage Lake properties that you own has to be approved by the A&E committee. It's a wonderful committee. You'll learn a little bit about construction, you'll learn a little bit about planning, and you'll meet the new neighbors that come in and want to build a house, build a dock, build a fence, whatever they want to do. There's a great assortment of people on that committee, and if you have any experience in construction or environment or procedures, this would be a nice committee for you to help out with your experience. Okay, this year we're saddened that the garden committee has retired. I'm assuming that within a year or two or three that maybe some new people will come along and start that garden committee up again. But I want to thank those ladies. I know Ken's thanked them in 2 of our meetings, but I'd like to personally thank Lynn Forskren, Audrey Birchman. If I butcher some of these names, I apologize. Marie Goins, Donna Wilson, Peggy Scotton, Lisa Helderbrandt, Carol Forbes, Mary Nice, Julia Prather, Ruth Everett, Linda Lawler, Anita Johnson, Kathy Reedy, Marianne Novak, and Valerie Beeler. Did I miss anyone? Okay. Now, one other area I'd like you all to join me in congratulating. We do it every year, but it can't go unnoticed. Ken Rozell's group, he and his new assistant manager, Benny Roughton, they have a great group of people, and they do a fabulous job. I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and they said, how much grass do we mow and keep nice at Heritage Lake? And I said, probably as much as 30% of all the condo projects in Indianapolis. And it's amazing. If you drive around Heritage Lake before the weekend, and every week it happens before the weekend, it's immaculate. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Benny. And thanks for all your people, your maintenance crews, your office staff. You do a wonderful job. Okay, and under his guidance, I'll just mention a few things that have happened this last year. Most of you are around a lot. If you're not, I'm just going to mention these things because they're worth mentioning. I had a new parking lot put in right outside here this last year. And, you know, those things are pretty costly. There's a lot that goes behind hiring the right crew to do it. And Ken's group is unbelievable with the research they do and the decisions they make on who they decide to do it. The board has the responsibility to approve anything over a certain amount of dollars. Most of these approvals are done at the end of the year in a budget. Sometimes we have to alter that budget during the year, and we have to approve money spent. This year, it was a privilege to watch some of the major infrastructure increases we've had at Heritage Lake. Parking lot out here I just mentioned, and the parking lot at the marina. Can you believe it? We finally got that gravel covered. It's beautiful. They also did a marina dumpster enclosure, in case those of you who haven't noticed. The marina dumpster is for the restaurant and for the marina. So those of you who have been sliding some of your stuff into the marina dumpster, you might want to call one of 4 garbage companies in the area and pay your own fees. We had this year, Ken's really proud of the total activity center remodel. If none of you have been to the activity center since it's been remodeled, I suggest you go over and see it. It's a great place to rent out. If you live here and you have too many people coming that'll overtake your house, you can rent that out. We had emergency generators put in at the POA office and the activity center, along with a golf cart parking area at the marina. Ken also had the emergency siren repaired this year. Those are just a few of the things that they do on a regular basis out here at Heritage Lake. It's just amazing to me. Thank you goes out also to Ken and Benny for the day-to-day operations. The people are so friendly that work for Ken and Benny at the pool, at the marina, And sometimes it's hard to stay friendly, if you know what I mean. Because not everybody's in a good mood when they go to use those facilities. And I think they've done a wonderful job staying positive and energetic in those areas. Not to mention the hard work the maintenance crew does. I'd like to give the new board members will be introduced shortly, but I'd like to give the board members that are here today, Rick Miller, Nina Stebbins, Dennis Barrow, who is not here, he's down staying warm, Rick Stevens, AJ Stafford, Alyssa Borchek, Linda McFerrin, and Jeff Blades. Thank you so much for all the work you've done this year, and you should be proud of the board. Okay, 2024, I'm going to talk about two things now, and hopefully I'll give you enough facts that'll cut down on some of the forum time. If it doesn't, we'll be glad to answer any questions you might have about any of these things. We have in front of you a very transparent board. They're not only transparent in their meetings, they're transparent on the streets. If any of you go up to a board member, you're going to get their version of whatever is a topic out here. Sometimes it might be their version might be a little bit softer than my version. I don't know. But we're very transparent. We've tried to preach to each other all the time. We need to tell you what we're doing. We go behind closed doors about once or twice every 3 months for what's called an executive meeting. Now, in those executive meetings, it's kind of like boot camp. We say whatever we want to say to each other because we want to be honest with each other. We call each other names. We tell each other we're full of shit. We tell each other that we don't know what the hell we're talking about. We tell each other that we're being too self-involved. We tell each other that because we have a business, you want something to happen because of your business. We tell each other all those things. And then when we get out of that executive meeting, we go to the meetings in front of you and we act like we all love each other. And then we come up with a vote and we all stand behind that vote. And that's how the system works. On Monday, October 23rd, 2024, the Heritage Lake Board of Directors representing I'm saying all this because there may be people in this room that do not know about these things. This is an annual meeting. If you've missed the other 12 meetings, if you've never watched a meeting online, I'm giving you the information again. The Heritage Lake Board of Directors representing the members of Heritage Lake community. And when I say represent, we are fiduciaries for you. We try to do the best for your probably, I guess the best word to use is majority. We can't please everybody, but we try to make decisions to better the community, and that's our goal. We presented our case concerning the covenant complaint. Everybody's heard about the covenant complaint, correct? That went to the courts. Okay, good. We presented this complaint to the judge in Putnam County Courthouse. Our attorney, Scott Treadway, was there to advocate for our complaint regarding the revision of the covenants established in 1971 when college kids were selling lots out here for $250. When people would come out here and buy a lot, put a fishing boat on the lake, and it was the beginning of Heritage Lake. That was when the covenants was written. Covenants is a law. It is what we have to abide by as a community. It's registered with the county. If we don't abide by that, we can be sued by anyone. At the hearing, questions were asked and testimony was given by 7 members of our community. The 7 members were comprised of the current board president, the current lake manager, past board presidents, long-standing community members, and present and past business and committee members. There were statements and questions asked of the two community members who were opposed to any covenant change. So both sides were represented, okay? This has never been kept a secret. Anyone could go to this court appearance. And anyone can file with the court to have a reasonable, or to have their views heard, just as we filed the complaint with the court. The main objective was to provide pertinent information of the past and present community identity to the judge. In order to educate him as to the need to change the voting system so that the community members would have a final say concerning any important issue moving forward, some of us had heard rumors that our main objective was to raise assessments. This is not true. There is not a board member up here. You still awake, AJ? There is not a board. There is not a board member up here that has ever, since I've been around, said their main objective is to raise assessments. There is not a board member up here or the last 3 years that is in favor of raising assessments. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. If you read the covenants, it is written that the purpose of assessments was to provide the means for all financial obligations, 100% of financial obligations. That's in the covenants. However, in fact, today and for many years, the assessments have never compensated for more than 50% of our financial responsibilities. This fact was not presented to the judge so he would permit us to raise assessments, but presented to show him that the number one objective of the 1971 covenants does not and will not live up to its language and purpose. We wanted to show the judge that our voting system described in our covenants has never and will never provide an attainable majority rule. This strategy was used to educate this judge on how our community has changed dramatically, and the covenants that governs us also constrains us from logistically making decisions that could affect us well into the future. How many people here handle a budget in their homes and have kids and/or grandkids? Nothing's ever come up to surprise you. That budget has always taken care of itself. Nobody's ever called you and said, I need more money. No catastrophe has ever happened so that everything goes down the damn tubes that year. This board and 3 boards prior are trying to get to a point where we protect ourselves for whatever catastrophe comes out in Heritage Lake. God forbid the next tornado that comes through Heritage Lake takes out all your houses. Somebody's going to have to stand up and help. We have to look to the future to make decisions. As you all know, we presently make up the shortfall and the net value of assessments paid by raising money through various means. Now here's another fact. If any of the boards were interested in raising assessments, why would they go to the trouble of inventing all these other moneymakers? Why don't they just raise assessments? Well, and you say, well, you can't raise assessments because it's in the covenants. Well, the covenants is not taking care of the law for us. So we could get a group of people, 9 people, and sue the neighborhood to raise assessments because they say we need to have 100% of the assessments used to take care of our financial responsibilities. But instead, since I've been here for 12 years, the board's put in boat docks to raise money. They've put in pool costs to raise money. They've put in a marina to raise money. All the things in the marina raise money. We brought in a restaurant to raise money. We put docks up to raise money. We've got the campground has fees to raise money. these all offset the fact that our assessments do not financially take care of this community. So to be accused of just wanting to raise assessments is so disrespectful, because I have been privileged for 8 years to see the hard work that goes into raising money so that we don't have to raise assessments. The last thing this board and the board before and the board before that came up with was a complaint to go to the courts. And the reason we did it is because we know we can't get the votes the way our covenants has set out our rules. We cannot get a vote. So we went to court to have a judge give us a ruling. Now, we're being accused now of having a judge giving us a ruling to raise assessments. That's bullshit. Flat out. We are getting a court judgment to give us a new voting system so you can either raise or lower assessments if that ever comes to light. We are giving you the tool to put your voice where your money is. When this board in 10 years decides we need to raise your assessments, they'll come to you with reasons. If you think the reasons suck and you don't want those assessments raised, vote no. It's that simple. But you can't get a vote today to do it. We can't count votes today to do it. You'll never be able to do it. Somebody might come up with a different way to figure out what happens to Heritage Lake. So this board had the privilege to submit the claim that we've been working on for 3 years. And that claim is giving the membership tools to say yay or nay to any important issue that comes up in the future. And if that sounds like we're getting a vote to raise assessments, how does that work? I don't understand it. There are opinions. We heard one opinion at the court that a gentleman that testified thought we should be paying $350 a month instead of $350 a year. That was his opinion. That was his opinion. If opinions were fact, Facebook would be our news. All right. I think I was going to talk longer, but I think I've said enough. I would like you all, for you to understand that if issues are important, voting for board members is probably the most important thing you can do. Find out who's running. Find out who they are. Find out where they come from. Find out what their self-issue is before you vote for them. You know how many votes we get for board members? Guess. At the end of the year, if 4 people run for 3 positions, guess how many ballots are turned in? Anyone?
1,500.
Oh, I wish it was 1,500. Tom knows. He's been around a long time. About 300 votes for the most important thing you got out here, board members. Now, once the board members are voted in, if you have a personal problem and you have a personal want, get to know the board member. Get to know, there's a lot of personalities up here. A lot of personalities. You'll find one that you can talk to and voice your opinion. I know that there are some people that love the what do they call it? Pot stirring on Facebook. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy that. And that's cool. But that's opinions. You're right. And we all know what that means. Because we all have one. So anyway, I gotta check my notes real quick to make sure I don't lose anything here. I guess that's my report. I hope I've made myself clear on how hard and how much goes into making decisions I've had the privilege of 3 boards. That's, get my math right here, 9 plus 27, about 36 people. Not one of them wanted to raise assessments. 3 years. And in 3 years, I am just blown away by the help and the work that these people have done. So when it comes up time to put new board members in, pay attention to it, please. Okay. We move to committee reports. I'm sorry that took so long, but these are things that I don't normally talk about. I don't normally have to talk about, and I think it's important that everybody gets the facts. Committee reports. A&E. Linda?
Good afternoon. So last year, we had 63 houses built, 2 additions, 1 attached garage, 16 detached garage, 12 docks, 6 boat lifts, 3 permanent covered boat lifts, 3 fences, 37 non-waterfront fences, 11 decks, 1 gazebo, 4 roof extensions, 1 pool, 1 sunroom, and 1 porch. Thank you to the A&E committee. They have been very busy.
Thank you, Linda. Before I introduce the next committee, I want to make my last point clear. If you vote yes more than you vote no, the judge is going to give us the right to give every equity owner at Heritage Lake 1 vote. If there's a man and wife, or there are 2 principal equity owners on a property, you get 2 votes. If it's an LLC, you pick 2 people to have the votes. No more, we're trying to do away with 1 vote per lot. And I'll give you a very good example if you're thinking logically. Right now, there's a builder out here that owns 25 lots. You think he should get 25 votes? He's a builder. But by our covenants, he gets 25 votes. So that's 1. 2, we're putting a quorum of 750 votes. Think about it. That's a lot of votes. That doesn't keep you from going out and getting 3,000 votes. That just gives us a better minimum so that we can gauge from the issues we're putting out to the community how you feel. Everything we've voted on since I've been here, 75 to 85% of the people in the community have backed what we were trying to vote on. But we never got enough of the quorum. We never reached the quorum. So the majority of the people in the community wanted us to do what we wanted to do, but we never got a quorum, so we couldn't do it. What's the third thing? 750 votes. Oh, and on top of the 750 quorum, we will, 60% yay, moves it on, 60% no's, do away with it. Okay? Is that right?
I thought it was majority.
No, that's just for the vote that's coming out for this complaint. For the complaint, there are no restrictions. The judge wants to know if you agree with what we've given the judge on the voting only. When he approves it, 60% of the 750 minimum quorum is going to decide on that issue. So there might be 3,000, but we need 750. Does everybody understand that? Yes.
Do you have a date or a time frame for when that vote is going to happen?
Today is the 30th day since the judge made his decision on us sending out a vote. We had to wait 30 days before we could do it. We will be meeting in the next 2 weeks to put everything together to send out to all the members. The ballots will come out and a new explanation of what the judge is going to approve or disapprove. So you'll have it in front of you in black and white. It'll show you what he's going to approve or disapprove. Okay, moving forward. Yes, I'm sorry.
If a quorum's not met, what happens? If it's a 55-45 vote, what happens?
Doesn't pass, doesn't go through.
Does it continue?
If we get 725 people to vote, it's a tabled issue. If we get 55% of 750, it's a no. Okay. Next, campground committee.
I was just
And I
clarifying.
will also answer any questions about that. I just wanted to make that clear before I got to the end and the forum. Yes.
Not all votes are yes.
For the new thing or the old? For the new.
Under the new voting structure, not every vote would be a yes or a no situation.
Would you explain?
I just wanted to explain briefly, under the new voting system, and even now, not every vote that's put forth to the community would be a yes or no. Not every vote is a yes or no. So no matter what, I know there's some controversy over not voting as a no vote. But what if the vote is put out where it's not a yes or no? What if it's a choice? So take that in consideration.
And then may I ask, Jeff, when you were talking about the quorum, were you talking about the vote that we're gonna send to the judge or the voting process after the judge decides?
No, I was just the vote that we're wanting to change to, the 750, but that could also go towards the vote that the judge put out. That would be, I would think that would be like all of our votes in the past. If we don't reach a quorum, then it's a...
With
We are
this
going by the
vote-
judge's ruling. The judge has given us instructions on how this next vote is going to happen.
And he said no quorum.
So there's no quorum.
Just this one time, it's winner take all. Just this one vote that the judge asked for, well, I'm gonna bring this down to the landscaper level. It's winner take all on this next vote that we put out. We have 30 days to put it out and get back whoever we get back within 30 days. And it's winner take all. If it wins by one, it wins by one. If it loses by one, it loses by one. That's it. There's no quorum, there's no percentage, there's no nothing. It's all or nothing,
Majority.
majority wins. On this one vote in particular, because that is what the judge asked, well, they didn't ask. That's what the judge told us we were going to do. So, all the quorums and all the other stuff, don't even think about that for this one vote that we're gonna send out the next time.
And if this is approved by you and it goes to the judge, you're already going to have that verbiage to know what the judge is going to make a ruling on. Okay? Campground, I'm sorry.
Rick Stevens, 95 Victory Hill. First off, I want to thank Paul for the leadership over the last 3 years with the board. I appreciate that. The 2025 camping season will begin with the selection meeting held next Sunday, 1 p.m. here at the office upstairs. That's to guarantee a spot for the 2025 season. Going into the 2025 season, we currently have 9 spots available. In order to participate in the camp selection, all fees were to be paid by February the 20th, 2024. If you show up and haven't paid your fees, those fees will need to be paid before a site will be selected. Any questions, you need to contact, of course, April Land or Jolene Pfaff at the POA office. Permanent camping this year will be up to $700. Half-season campers are $450. Transient campers, just daily weekend campers, $35 per day. We do have one spot down there. It's a pull-through spot that we do hold open for POA members or a guest. And then tent camping is still $20 per day. The 2025 winter storage fee will be up to $200. And that is it. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call Jim Muhlenbein to handle the election committee and the lake committee.
I can read both at once.
Sure. I don't know, can you?
I think so.
Don't mess with those too.
I won't mess with it. I'm reading for Kent Hoops for the election committee, and since the meeting's running long, I marked out a little bit of his 8-page report. So you're getting the Reader's Digest version. And when I say I in this, I'm speaking for Kent. The Lake Committee would like to thank all the POA members and the POA Board of Directors for your continued support of our committee and our efforts. Your support of our committee has allowed us to coordinate and provide the following benefits to our community. With a dedicated interest in the quality of Heritage Lake for nearly 3 decades, the Lake Committee and the POA Board of Directors have approved and paid for fish stocking in the Heritage Lake. A recent Lake Committee-sponsored comprehensive lake water quality and fish study survey shows that our lake continues to be a healthy fishery, and the Lake Committee, along with our POA Board, will continue our efforts to make sure this health continues. We provide Heritage Lake merchandise at the marina. Styles are reviewed annually, and POA members can look forward to seeing new apparel again this year. Our committee has used the 2024 funds for lake improvements, including the previously reviewed fish stocking, which was $4,000, our beach cleaning machine for the goose mess, $7,000, lake security boat replacement, and a lot of new lake buoys. We recommended and assisted in lake weed control. Our recommendations included areas of concern for boaters, as well as areas for fish habitat and spawning protection. We also assist with the Heritage Lake maintenance crew to lower mechanical costs for the lake security boats. Our committee continued our efforts to provide a safe lake for our POA recreational users by reviewing and recommending new test questions and new rules for our required operator test. Please review the 2025 rules prior to hitting the water this summer. It is important to know that this test is a requirement on an annual basis for all operators at Heritage Lake. We sponsored and supported the Bass Club's 2024 tournaments, and they will be continuing the very successful kids tournaments in 2025. The Bass Club has provided hundreds of fishing poles and Christmas gifts for lake children over the past year and has contributed over $1,000 to our stocking and lake improvement efforts. Going forward, look for the Lake Committee-sponsored golf outing this summer. We believe this is another way to celebrate our great community. And finally, our committee had a very successful 2024 Feast, Ski, and Fun event organized by Mary Petruzzi. It was once again one of the highlights at our lake this past season, and the event is planned again for this summer. It is our largest fundraising event. Our Lake Committee ending treasury balance for 2024 is approximately $25,000, with dedicated funds in excess of $14,000 already designated for the 2025 agenda. As the Lake Committee Chair, Kent, I would like to thank all of our previous and current members. Additionally, we would like to welcome all POA members to join our committee. Our spring meeting, subject to change due to spring break, will be March 26, 2025 at 7 p.m. Thank you. And you don't know how much I cut down on that thing. Okay, the election committee, as Paul's mentioned before, Mary took this over this year, and we didn't have an election. So she wrote a short report here. This is again her speaking, I'd like to start by expressing our gratitude to Paul Forbes and Dennis Barrow for their dedication and service, and members of the Heritage Lake POA Board. Their contribution has been invaluable in maintaining the safety, financial stability, and continued growth of our community. Each February, the election committee typically holds an election to fill 3 open positions on the POA board. However, for 2025, only 3 candidates submitted their signed petitions, eliminating the need for an election this year. These board members will serve the standard 3-year term. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our two new board members, Yvonne Culpepper and Mike Colarusso. We also welcome back Rick Miller as he continues his service on the board. We appreciate their commitment to our community and look forward to the positive impact they will make. And that's it.
Thank you. Mike and Yvonne, could you just stand up so people can recognize you? There you go. There's your new board member. Okay, next I've got, he's probably going to be up here quite often. Long-term planning and Heritage Lake Community Foundation. Rick?
Thanks, Paul. I don't have a lot to report for long-term planning because we've been largely in a holding pattern. I mean, we do talk about the future and possible things we could do, but we've been waiting to find out what's going to happen with this complaint to the court, because we know going forward the mission statement for long-term planning needs to change, will change. So we should know a lot more about that soon, okay? As far as Heritage Lake Community Foundation, that's a new foundation we started early this past year, and the purpose of that foundation is to raise money through donations or writing grants to fund or help fund projects that take place out here. So if we have a very large project that the POA budget doesn't provide for, we can go to the community, to businesses, or write grants to raise that money. So it's a brand new foundation. And we've got some good news. We'll move on in the agenda in just a little while that demonstrate the effectiveness of the foundation that we hope you'll all support over time, one or more times. So we're just real proud that the foundation is a new vehicle to support long-term growth for this lake. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Cleanup Committee. Jeff Blades?
Hello, everyone. On behalf of Sarah Lackner, the chairperson of the cleanup committee, who couldn't be here today because she's at work, she would like and asked me to give this report. The cleanup committee is comprised of Heritage Lake residents who volunteer their time, talents, and efforts to serve the Heritage Lake POA. We try to encourage Heritage Lake property owners and residents to maintain all properties in a safe, clean, and environmentally friendly manner. We proudly sponsor the annual trash pickup in the spring, held in April. Advertising for spring, fall garage sales, tox drop, and clean sweep in May. Shred event held in August and ending our year with the fall clean sweep in September. We also supply a bin for can recycling at Heritage Lake Maintenance Building located on the left side of the building. She would like to thank, and I would too, Don Williams for taking care of the cans. He has been very helpful in taking care of this for our committee. And really, boy, those cans, they build up quick, okay? So it's really amazing. So if you have aluminum cans, put them in a trash bag, tie them down, and get rid of them there rather than the trash. Because as Paul mentioned, the money comes back to the cleanup committee, and every dime the cleanup committee earns ends up being invested back into the community. She says, I want to thank the amazing volunteers who have been the backbone of this committee. We don't have many on our committee, but when it's time to help, they are more than willing to give their absolute all for the events. I say at every event, we have the hardest workers who show up and give their Saturday to help. A big thank you to Ken Rozelle and his committee for all they do, and also for getting the trustees from the Putnam County Sheriff's Department. They are truly a big help to help our committee, and we are so thankful they can come up and help. They help us for the trash pickup as well as for the spring and fall clean sweeps. She wants to thank Charlie Land for being a wonderful addition to our committee by being at our May and September events and collecting scrap metal with his dump truck and semi-trailer. This has helped us in not having to rent an extra dumpster from Jack's Trash and use them all for trash, which I say every year as well. Where does all this stuff come from? Where are you all hiding it? But also in the same breath, I say I'm glad we can take it because it won't end up in somebody's backyard or in the lake. Lastly, she wants to thank all the residents of the lake for coming to our events and donating to our committee. If you ever want to volunteer, please just show up and we will be gladly welcome your presence and we will have donuts to show our support. Thank you very much, Sarah Lackner. So good thanks to Sarah Lackner for her work. I want to thank the board for putting up with me. I can get grouchy. So I want to thank every one of you for your loyal, devoted work to the community. And I'll tell you, for what I know, is they have what's best. We don't agree, maybe, but I'll agree with this. They want to do what's right for the association as a whole. And I'd like you to thank them again, because I want to thank them. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.
Okay. Government Committee. Rick Olson?
Good afternoon. Rick Olson, 51 Mill Springs. It's the mission of the Government Committee to improve the image of Heritage Lake community by fostering mutually beneficial relationships with county, state, and federal officials. This is accomplished by means of attendance at Putnam County Commissioners, Council, Zoning, and Indiana Legislative Update meetings, and also interacting with our elected and appointed officials in other ways. It's been a real joy working on this committee. My work, I just retired here recently, and a lot of our work was done in the transportation sector. So it has been a real joy. I know a lot of the people that attend the commissioners' meetings and things like that. So I do really enjoy it. I would like to correct Paul's report about it being a one-man show, though. So I'd like to thank Ken, who, when I first took this job on, soon learned that this guy knows everybody in the county. And so it's great having Ken there, but Paul also attends those meetings, and Benny now has been attending the meetings as well. So it certainly does take a team. The road work, we did get some road work done. Earlier in the year, the commissioners asked me to put together a list of the worst roads at Heritage Lake, and there are some bad ones. I did that after, they specifically said roads that had cul-de-sacs at the end of those. And as you know, some of those are the worst. So we did that, came up with about 2.5 miles of those roadways. And after that, they said, well, sorry, we can't do cul-de-sacs. So because the money that they had allocated for that was going to be coming directly from the county and using county forces. So in place of that, they did repave Rappahannock, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, Burgoyne, Militia Drive, and Monmouth Drive, which were also much needed roadways. So roadway improvements. So that was done in August. In addition, through community crossing funds, they repaved County Road 725, which goes from the BP down to what we call the Y. I don't know, it's where that goes toward the campground there. So that was good as well. So, the county has a limited amount of funds. Putnam County is not the richest. We're not Hendricks County. So it is difficult to come up with the money, just like the board, has struggles with coming up with enough money to fund the improvements around here. So unfortunately, none of the roadways at Heritage Lake proper are going to be redone this year. Unless they did go through some, the other day, they went through some new funding sources, one called EDIT. It's the Economic Development Income Tax, where they put some money into the transportation, the highway department. So we'll find out if, and we'll be pushing, obviously, for anything we can get done here at the lake. But so this year, what they are doing, though, is some improvements near the, thanks for Benny pointing this out in a meeting the other day. I think one of them's called Canaan Road, is that right? But they're County Road 450 North, 375 North, County Road 800 East, 350 North, and 775 East. It's roadways that go toward Coatesville, basically, and out basically the southeast corner of the lake. There still remains, I don't know if most people probably don't know, but there was a 7-year plan put together by the county probably about 5 years ago. And of that, there's still 3.5 miles of roadway that are yet to be improved as part of that plan. So that was done, there was a lot of foresight that went into that, but unfortunately, if the money's not there, they can't do it. We are coming up with some other ideas potentially on how to do that, and so stay tuned. In May of this year, or last year, there was a commissioner's race in our district to replace the seat that was vacated by Dave Barry. And that was won by Andy Beck. Is Andy here? I didn't see him. Andy has been a breath of fresh air, if you will, in that it seems like Andy has really taken an interest in our community. We've been, I don't know if the redheaded stepchild is the word I should use, but some of the, we haven't been looked at. They would like us to be a town. And that's really not going to work for the way we operate. But Andy has been great, and like I said, taking an interest. So hopefully that continues. There was some turnover. County engineer Jim Peck left, and they have I think interviews next week for that new seat. Clint Maddox is the interim highway director, I guess you call him. Other things going on in the county, the commissioners are working on a courthouse annex. Unfortunately, fortunately, I guess for them, a lot of the funds will be going toward that this year and for years to come. The bit of good news, the county is purchasing another mower with a boom, and we've had a lot of issues with roadways, like brush growing on roadways that are not in somebody's front yard, and it's been a real problem. And in some cases, it blocks stop signs and really narrows the roadways. And when two people are passing each other, especially with a boat, it gets pretty hairy. So so hopefully that will improve this year. In that light, if you do have any concerns about brush or potholes or things like that, feel free to call the county directly. Call the county highway department. You can let me know, but I'm only one voice. So if several people call, and I urge you to do it cordially. They say, what is it? You collect more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So and that's the way that the group I'm talking about handles things. We try to be as cordial as possible, even when we don't want to be sometimes. We're also in the early stages of talking about potentially a walking trail adjacent to Heritage Drive. It's kind of a long-term dream, I guess. We don't have a lot of walkability, which was discussed at the county level at one time. And it would be, most of it would be within the county right-of-way. They own 60 feet total. And so we believe that trail can be placed within the county right-of-way. There's a lot of obstacles, though, and but hopefully we can get that accomplished. I did approach the county commissioners with that, and they were in favor of doing that. So in the county using the county right-of-way for that purpose. Other than that, I'll continue to push for improvements in the area. If you have any specific questions, I'll be hanging around after the meeting. So come see me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next Next, we have the clean water team. Under your book there, it says something about watershed and lake protection. It's really the clean water team. Alias watershed and lake protection.
That was a pretty fancy sounding name you
I know,
came
I
up
thought
with.
it was easy.
Phil McKinley, 330 Patriots Landing. Good afternoon. My report is fairly short, so I'm going to take about another minute just to backfill for just a second. Where did the clean water team come from? And it really goes back about a decade from when we did a self-study and started the strategic plan. And as I think back to that era, so many things that have come up today are at least somewhat related to that study and the things that people realized that we needed to do. It was done under the guidance of a consultant from Bloomington who had worked with a number of lakes and other communities and made a number of recommendations of things we might do. One of them was, what we've talked about a lot today, was the fact that we really didn't have the ability to govern ourselves. And some changes in the way that the covenants were originally written were certainly an obstacle for Heritage Lake. Another one was that we needed better emergency preparedness and communication, and there have been a number of advances along the way in the last decade in that area. But the way the clean water team came about was, certainly we are here primarily because of the lake out there. And obviously we need to monitor and protect that precious facility. And so starting about 10 years ago, we started doing a number of things to watch about the lake. One of them was mentioned today were fish studies. We don't do that every year, but we participate because we look at things like predator-prey relationships. We look for things like indicator species. We look for ways to control invasive and nuisance species in the lake. Those things didn't happen particularly this year. They don't happen every year. This year we continued, however, 3 of the initiatives that we do every year. And one of them was that we provide some articles in the highlights earlier in the year. We'll be doing those starting in April about best practices for things around the lake to help maintain water quality, use of fertilizers and what kinds and so forth. We members of the committee do windshield surveys of driving the roads that are near the watershed of particularly the 2 main streams that feed the lake, looking for land use, any proposed changes in land use, farming practices, and so forth. We did not foresee any particular issues with that this year. And then, of course, along with Ken Rozelle and his team that collects some water samples and submits them to the facility we've used in Montgomery County for a number of years, we look at the E. coli level in the lake, which is the common measure used by beach managers for safe use of the water. And our results in previous years, in recent years, have all been great. This year, they were even better. Not to give too many numbers, but a polluted body of water might have an E. coli count in the thousands. There's no set standard in Indiana exactly when a lake or a beach should be closed, but most beach managers would tend to close a beach if the level were more than about 400 counts. This is all per deciliter of water. The EPA and the state of Indiana have their own versions of what are the allowed values. The most stringent value by the EPA is to have an average rating of 125 or less. This year, Ken collected 3 samples after we discussed the locations that might be good for this year's test. We did one from the main body of the lake and then one from both the North Fork and the East Fork. Those 3 ratings, remember, thousands, 400, 125, those 3 ratings were 1, 0, and 0. The zeros definitely are clean enough in terms of E. coli for drinking water, and most people who have wells would satisfy with 1. Now, that doesn't mean you should go drinking everything in the lake, but at least in terms of the E. coli level, which is the common measure, our results are truly outstanding. So I think I can again say what a member of the DNR said a few years ago when we had very good results, though not quite as good as this year, that we might just have the cleanest lake in the state. So at the head of the highlights, when it says we have the best of the Great Lakes, well, in terms of water quality, I think I agree. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to do what's called on your program there, announcements. These are groups out here that are not actual committees, but they are, some of them, even more important than our committees. So first one we'll call up is Donna with HLNAC, please. HLNAC, for those of you who don't know, stands for Heritage Lake Neighborhood Activity Committee, Fun and Games.
I'm Donna McGinley, and I'm a member of the HLNAC committee. And I want to let you know, it's a very hardworking committee. We do a lot of things out here. But we want to start off with a sincere gratitude to our community, including all the volunteers that help us with all of our events. Let's see, the POA board members, Ken, Roselle, Benny, Rutan, thank you for coming. It's been wonderful to work with as well. The POA office, in addition to the marina staff. HLNAC events are successful as a direct result of the combined efforts of our community. HLNAC is a volunteer committee. All of the volunteers work very hard to put on these different events. Our 2024 members included Chaz Catney, Heather Ludlow, Matt Ludlow, Jan Salee, Donna McGinley, Valeria Baylor, Crystal Pryor, Ryan Moore, Laura Todd Nance, and Nancy Burcham. Most of you may know that Jan Salee was a member of our committee for many, many years and devoted an awful lot of time and energy to a lot of the activities that we do. And she's now living in retirement in Florida, so we miss her tremendously. As a result of the HLNAC committee's donations and poker run outcomes, HLNAC was able to fund 2024 committee infrastructure requirements such as our taxes, insurance, gaming licenses, recurring and new events, community concerts, and donations to help important community causes. In addition, HLNAC continued the routine practice of reflecting on experiences, discussing lessons learned after each event, and receiving community feedback. We also try to implement improvements after each event so that we can make improvements to the following events. HLNAC remains committed to providing community-friendly and safe events. Our 2024 events included the Easter egg hunt, the spring-fall garage food sales, the spring-fall wine fest event, the boat poker run, the band, and the food trucks for that event, trunk or treat, pictures with Santa, and the neighborhood meet and greet. We do charge for the boat poker run, as everybody knows, but that is a charitable gaming experience, so most of the funds from that event go to charity. And the state gaming license actually tells us how much we donate, which is most of what we make in profits after we pay the winners of the poker run. In 2024, we were able to give money to the Charlie Beard Memorial Scholarship Foundation, the HL Community Foundation, Heritage Lake Community Foundation, the Concert Committee, and the Walking Trail Feasibility Study. In addition, we were able to donate funds to Clint Hackelman's God at Work ministry to help him with his efforts in community missions, and also to the Isaiah House, which is an important new building going, actually just completed in Greencastle, to help children who are removed from their homes by DCS. HLNAC typically meets the first Wednesday of each month via MS Teams and or the Clubhouse. Community members are welcome to join or volunteer at any level of engagement. Normally you'll see us posting flyers for our events, and if we need volunteers, we'll usually request those volunteers on those flyers. Donations are accepted and appreciated to continue to provide free and low-cost events for our community. We invite you to join us at our next meeting to support activities that spark your interest and energy. And again, I want to thank, we have just a tremendous number of volunteers outside the committee that come and help us with so many of the events. And I'm just happy to have every one of you that has volunteered to help us with these. It's just been extraordinary. And it's just been a wonderful experience for all of us to have the community support. Thank you.
Okay, as usual, in every meeting, I make at least 1, 2, 3, 4 mistakes. And I skipped the siltation committee because Dwayne wasn't here, and he's at every meeting. So I'm going to call on Chris Schubert. Do you have any report for us?
Basically, we have done some projects that were done in the fall that were pre-work for this year. That's probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
Our meeting's coming up in March.
Okay, and we are also, as a board, working with siltation within the next probably several months. We're going to try and come up with a new figure for 2026 budget, because it has become evident that the price of siltation is not going down. And we need to keep up with the siltation, especially for those of you in the coves. You know how important it is. If we don't keep up with siltation, you'll be holy and you'll be walking on water. All right, thank you, Chris. Next, I'd like to call the Chief of the Fire Department, Floyd Township Fire Department, Jeff Brooks.
Hi, I'm Jeff Brooks, Chief Floyd Township Fire Rescue. Floyd Township Fire Rescue is a full volunteer fire department. We serve Floyd Township and with fire and medical rescue services, as well as non-emergency assistance. We also provide mutual aid to surrounding counties. We're staffed by 18 members. 14 of us live here at the lake. I'm going to read the guys off. Myself, Chief, Assistant Chief Brack Hildebrand, Captain Ed Sprinkles, Lieutenant Bob Strakowski, Lieutenant Matt Robbins, Lieutenant Matt Berry, Firefighter 1 and 2 in EMR Dan Haven, Firefighter 1 and 2 Sidney Rotert, Fire Support Jeff Ensign, Firefighter 1 and 2 Nathan DeLong, Firefighter 1 and 2 John Keller, Firefighter 1 and 2 and EMT Christina Stone and Gordon Stone, Fire Support Elizabeth Stone, Fire Support Hannah Walton, Firefighter 1 and 2 Sean Walton, Firefighter 1 and 2 and EMR Todd Ziner, and Firefighter 1 Natalie Raven. Our members receive a fuel clothing reimbursement. I get asked quite a bit how much our firefighters make. $300 to $600 a year. I'm the chief, I get $600. That is to reimburse damaged clothing during runs and also to kind of give us some gas money back for driving back and forth. But with some careful planning and budgeting with our fire protection district, we have started as of January this year a per person per run payment of $10 for each firefighter. Our firefighters range from 18 to 77. A lot of you know that guy, he pumps gas at the marina. Last year, we had 370 total dispatch runs. That is 70 more than the previous year. 20 were fire-related, 11 structure fires, 2 car fires, 7 outside fires. 48 were heart-related, 10 cardiac arrests, 8 strokes, 26 motor vehicle accidents with injuries. Our blue light rules. If you see a vehicle with flashing blue lights approaching, just give them room or let them by. We are only asking permission. We're not demanding it. We can't demand it. We're not even supposed to speed. But however, we are en route to an emergency and time is of the essence. If your house is on fire, the fire can double in size every 30 to 60 seconds. If a person's heart stops, brain damage can occur within 5 minutes if CPR is not started. Getting a stroke patient clot-busting drugs at a hospital within the first hour can increase the chance of surviving and avoiding long-term brain damage. In 10 minutes, a person who's fallen through ice can become incapacitated and unconscious from hypothermia in less than an hour. Donations for the department are used for everyday operations and supplies for community events. We do accept cash, check, or credit cards. We do have a business Venmo account, which there's some barcode scanners sitting around here, or barcodes for you to scan. We are 501c3, so we can provide a receipt for monetary donations or for service provided donations. Some of our accomplishments last year, we enclosed the upstairs living quarters. It's always been open out into the bays, so when guys spend the night or guys go to upstairs to the gym to work out, they get to breathe exhaust fumes if we're running trucks or chainsaws. So we've enclosed that and also installed HVAC. We also replaced the upstairs windows that go to the exterior so they can be open to get fresh air up there. We did pave the drive to the helipad and painted it to increase visibility during the helicopter landings. We also have just upgraded our LED, or excuse me, all of our lighting to LED and motion sensing to, we're getting an estimate from Hendricks Power Moves that'll save us about $1,229 per year. Our runs, we had 99% of our dispatch runs, we had somebody from our department respond on. That's actually pretty stellar in a volunteer department. Lots of training, both video and hands-on during the year. Upcoming, we're currently receiving proposals for a new engine to replace our 22-year-old fire truck. The lowest proposal is about $550,000. The highest one is about $1.2 million. Guess which one I'm going for? The lower one. Fire cumulative fund. We have put a fire cumulative fund now in place to help with the cost of that engine and other projects we're going to try to do. Our communicating radios are 18 years old and no longer serviceable by the manufacturer. We've applied for grants 2 years in a row to get them replaced. They're FEMA grants, so we're not holding out a lot of hope. We're going to be getting FEMA money this year. Radios typically cost around $5,000 per radio. We have outgrown our rescue truck, our Tahoe that we have. We just have too much, our equipment's, we used to be able to haul 5 guys in it, 5 of us on a run. Now we can get 3 and we're pushed aside by equipment. Something I've investigated and looked at spots to do it is a pressurized water system that will provide better and more reliable water supply for fires, and it will also lower our ISO rating, which will affect everyone out here's insurance rates. We're always looking for revenue opportunities for these projects whenever we can find them. We're always looking for new members, so if you're cool with going into a burning building, getting into icy water while somebody is trying to pull you under, working very odd hours, come and see me. You do get to drive big red trucks eventually. We're seeking new recruits for the fire department. Please come and contact myself or any firefighter. I want to thank all our department members I mentioned, especially their families who are so supportive in the background. They hold meals. They're awakened in the night when our alarms go off. They have to finish bathing the dog because we had to go out on a run. And there are some of those other times we get interrupted that it doesn't make them real happy. I also want to thank our Fire Protection District members, Mike Hildebrand, who is here today, Ken Roselle, who is here today, and Greg Ernest. I also want to thank Tiffany Deere with Deere Accounting, who does all of our bean counting, and Gene Hostetter, our department attorney. I also want to thank Pat Zickman. She didn't know that was coming, because she makes these crocheted cool firefighter dolls, which all the kids out here like. And there was last year, there's a Where's a Waldo doll. It's kind of like Waldo, but it's Where's a Firefighter at? Lastly, I want to thank the community for all of your support and letting us into your lives. Always call 911 if you feel you have an emergency. Thank you.
Do you have anything? Chris Schubert with Conservancy.
Yeah, I usually come and sit by Dwayne, so I'm kind of surprised he's not here, but I will come up and say a few things. I'm vice chairman of the Clear Creek Conservancy, along with Dwayne, who's the chairman, and then Christine Schaefer is on the board as well. So the three of us, we manage the sewer, the spillway, and the dam. We are done with all of our major construction, as most of you probably noticed. That was probably the biggest thing that might have impacted you. And so that's done. The next thing we're trying to look at right now is our earthen dam. Probably needs a little bit of maintenance done on it. Those that walk them, and some of you snow sled down it, which is not supposed to be allowed. But we're trying to make that so it's less dangerous. Some of the concrete's come up over the years, so we're looking at that project next. That's probably, again, not going to impact you for fees or anything like that. But that's kind of what we've got going on. And I guess the other thing that we're probably going to be seeking public input on is the concrete that's there exposed for the tanks. We're thinking about having, we're putting in for having a mural perhaps put on that. So we don't know if we'll be selected, but that's probably the other thing that would probably impact this community. So that's it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Since Chris brought it up, and I'm kind of personally involved in something that happened over there by the spillway, that beautiful sled hill that goes down, where they have the big orange fence up to provide you a kind of a red flag that you're not supposed to be going down that thing there. At the bottom of that hill is a concrete drainage. But when it's snow covered, nobody sees it until they hit it. It's very dangerous, and I know somebody personally that broke their arm when they hit that spillway, when they hit that culvert. So whether you're a grandchild or a grandmother, don't sled down that hill. All right, next on our list is HLCS, which stands for Heritage Lake Community Services. As you all know it, the highlights. And here is Rick Miller.
Thank you. So, highlights, if you don't have one, there's plenty of them on the table back in the back of the room. But I have to thank our many advertisers and content contributors. Thanks to their help financially or even submitting articles, I'm proud of the product that we're able to deliver for this community. HLCS is a nonprofit company that, while we're independent from the Heritage Lake POA, we're tightly linked to them by our goals and objectives that we both have to serve this community. So most of all, though, we're proud to be what we think is a reliable resource to Heritage Lake and all of its activities. I want to give sincere thanks to Rachel Goss. She is an associate publisher and editor. She works very hard on every one of the monthly issues that you see, and she's just continues to be important to creating and presenting our monthly newsletter. Notable changes for HLCS this year, probably not real popular, but we stopped doing the annual Heritage Lake telephone directory. Okay, as with many phone books, over the years we saw here continuing decline in readers both online and picking up hard copy print. So we just didn't feel like, we were charging our advertisers for yellow pages to produce that directory, and we just didn't feel like we were returning a fair return on their investment. So we stopped producing that. However, some good news, I think. We still felt a need to have a business directory to replace those very useful yellow pages. So we created online at the Heritage or the HLCS website. We created a business directory there. Any advertiser who is local or near local, they can go to our website and fill out a form to register and be in that essentially online yellow pages. So if you're one of those businesses or know one, go there. It's free, okay? We also have the ability on the same website for users or people to go to that business directory and look them up. And there's a search field. You can put in a name or part of a name. You can put in the type of service you're looking for. You can put almost any text or numbers in that search field and find quickly businesses. So if it grows to hundreds or thousands, you don't have to spend a lot of time searching through a list. In addition, though, to publishing the highlights, we use our internet and those publishing tools to support several POA initiatives, including things like the watercraft operating permit. We help support that. Things like the emergency texting system. We just make sure that's working, but POA manages that. We also donate a lot of time and services to many of the committees in this community, like the Feast and Ski done by the Lake Committee, the Poker Run by Hellnack, the Fall Wine Fest by Hellnack. That's a fun one to work at. And the brand new Welcome Aboard by Hellnack that we're doing a couple of times a year now for new owners at Heritage Lake. That was a really cool meeting. So we support all of those things, and we'll do it any number of ways. If we can show up and help personally by volunteering, or if we can just publish your flyers and information, we'll do that for you. But we're just proud to work with a lot of these committees, including the concert series. You know, we work for everybody, and we just use our publishing resources to do what we do. So we're really proud to help and support many volunteers and clubs for this wonderful community, and I thank you, the Heritage Lake community, for your continuing support to help us. So, with that, I would like to move us to the next agenda item, if I can, Paul.
Go ahead.
And introduce you to Joel Harbaugh, who is one of the awesome Board of Director members for this new Heritage Lake Community Foundation.
Thank you, Rick. As Rick mentioned earlier, the Heritage Lake Community Foundation is relatively new. We were incorporated in the state by the state of Indiana and recognized by the IRS as a 501c3 organization in December of 23. The board itself was formed March 12th of 2024. So very, very short window of working time behind us. The mission of the foundation is to support and improve the quality of life for the citizens of Heritage Lake. Pretty simple. Really, I think that's what all of our volunteers are doing. So, as a 501c3 charitable organization, we hope to inspire our community to support initiatives that do improve the community. While, and it's happening every day, but today we have the opportunity to present a check to construct and develop a new boardwalk out here. I think we've all seen boats tie up on the riprap and watch people. It's like watching an accident waiting to happen as people walk across the riprap, and people have gotten hurt. So we are supporting the construction of a boardwalk, which will provide temporary docking for community events like the concert series. Otherwise, it'll be used for walking, for fishing, sitting and watching the lake, but eliminating that dangerous barrier of riprap right along the lake. This could not have been possible without donations from our community. Our lead donors, Mitch and Sherry Dotson of Indy Rooftops, Rick Olson, Patty Evans, Rajiv Sood, Raymond Staley, Patty O'Connor, and one donor who wishes to remain anonymous. Ken, I would like to present to you a check for $10,975 for the construction and maintenance of a boardwalk. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying my best. Oh, I want to mention, if there's anybody here that would like to talk about any clubs that are out at Heritage Lake, now's a good time for you to say something. We have clubs from euchre to cars, everything in between. And so if you can't find something to do at Heritage Lake, you're not looking. There's plenty to do. There's a lot of people that enjoy these clubs, and there's a lot available. Is there anybody here that would like to mention anything about any of these particular clubs? They're in your highlights. There's a list in there, so if you need help introducing yourself to one of these clubs, buy a car and then call the office. All right. Next on the agenda is our fabulous manager Ken Roselle with the manager's report.
Get to do the fun thing and pass out awards.
First off, I'd like to thank all of you for showing up and being a participant to this event. There's a lot of people that stay home, but you choose to come, and I'd just like to say thank you for being here. Got up this morning and I thought, you know, my time will be fairly short to retire. It's been a job that I've thoroughly enjoyed. I haven't come up with a date yet. I'll know when the time is right, when the transition will be right. But I got to thinking this morning, I thought, what if this may be my last year-end meeting? So I was like, the one thing I'd like to do is I went down a list and I started writing down in my 10 years all the board members that I have worked under. And I'd like to start by just mentioning them. These board members, all board members, I see behind the scene how hard they work, how dedicated they are, giving them crap or whether you don't. They work hard. So I'll just go down the list. They're in alphabetical order. Dennis Barrow, that we have four members that is no longer with us, Charlie Beard being one of them. Jeff Blades, Alyssa Borshak, Jeff Brooks, Grant Feldhake, Paul Forbes, Ben Fuchs, Steve Hampton, Ben Henshaw, Rick Huddleston, Elia Hunt, which is no longer with us, Jim Johnson, Beth Metzger, Linda McFerrin, Rick Miller, Tom Novak, Summer Ramsey. The next two is no longer with us, John Reedy, Ken Riggin, Chris Schaefer, Neil Snyder, AJ Stafford, Nina Stebbins, Rick Stevens, Brad Stratman, Curtis Talbert, and our two new ones, Yvonne Culpepper and Mike Colarusso. I'd like everybody to give them a strong round of hand for everything that they truly work hard for this community. I'd like to start out with Dennis Barrow, since he is he's not here. He's in the sunny state of Florida. Dennis has served on the board for 22, 23, and 2024. Dennis has completed his third year as the treasurer. With 26 years of corporate CPA and CFO experience, this made Dennis a perfect fit as the treasurer of the board of directors. Dennis and Bonnie have been great for the community, along with being great neighbors across the street from me. Dennis, I am sure you are watching from the great state of Florida. Thank you for serving the board for the last 3 years and giving back to this community. I will get him his award when he gets back. Next, Rick Miller. Rick has also began his tenure on the board at 2022, 23, and 24. Rick has brought many thoughts and ideas to the board along the way. His vision for improvements, willingness to be open, honest, being an open and honest book when the conversations are had, whether in person or tirelessly on Facebook. He does his best to educate anyone with questions. He is one to never meet a stranger and willing to talk shop at any time with patrons at Psalms. Rick has made the decision to serve on the board for an additional 3 years for his second term. Thank you very much for your dedication to this community. Here's Rick's. Rick, thank you very much. Here's your box if you want it. Lastly, Paul Forbes. During my 10-year tenure, we've worked 8 of those years together. Paul will finish his last 2 years as your board president. Love him or not, and I believe most of us love him. He never joined the board to win a popularity contest, but I'll assure you his intentions and vision was the best for this, what he done for this community. I know by the many conversations we have had over breakfast meetings, office visits, road time conversations, late night phone calls, and texting. From my standpoint, his communication to me has always been spot on. And in my position as a property manager, I couldn't ask for anything else. Even as far as our working relationship, we would even have political discussions. And believe it or not, we never argued over them. In today's world, that's very difficult. I've also spent many times in a vehicle with Paul while him driving. I have witnessed some very sketchy driving behavior. As a former deputy, I failed. I failed not to get Paul to drive over 20 mile an hour over the speed limit and at least making a reasonable attempt to stop at stop signs. I just knew when he got pulled over with me in the vehicle, he would always expect me for a get out of jail free card. Now, it takes a special person to stand up to the board members and say, I'll be your board president. Even knowing that when we all do not agree, he would be that person to stand up for all the board members to take the heat. Taking the bullet is what a good leader does. Today is bittersweet. After this meeting, I will get a new boss. So this summer, I hope we can spend some additional time on the golf course perfecting our game. Doing so, maybe it's time that we start hitting from the senior tees. That may help. Thank you from all of us for the 8 years and countless hours you have donated to this community. Thank you. Thank you to all 3 of the board members that I just gave the plaques to. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Had to bring up the speeding shit. Okay. Before I open up the meeting to a forum, I would like to ask the sitting board, when you go to your executive meeting today, and you pick officers, I would ask you to talk about and maybe approve that you keep me as a non-voting member until this complaint is final. I've been working on it for 3 years, and I only want to be a non-voting member so that I can be in discussions with you on how we handle whatever bridge or whatever blockade we come up against in the future. I don't think it'll be that long, and I will not bother you for any other reasons. So I would appreciate you just considering that. At this time, I'm going to open it up for the open forum. Anything goes, just be polite. Oh.
Yeah, Tom Novak, I just want to reach out to everyone and remind you about the Heritage Lake Charlie Deer Memorial Scholarship Fund. If you have any questions on what we do or any of the requirements that we ask the youth to do, primarily it's volunteering in the community, the Heritage Lake community, or in Putnam County. And I mean, there's plenty of opportunities for volunteering. You heard people speak about things like the HELNAC, the Lake Committee, Cleanup Committee. They would all like to have our youths come out and spend maybe 1 or 2 hours. I have a form, a very simple form, that they could record their hours and get credit for it. So again, if you do have an individual who would be eligible, which would be a sophomore, junior, senior, just stop by and see me after the meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes?
Don McGinley, I had a gross omission on my presentation, and I apologize, but I want to mention everything that Rick Miller does to help HELNAC get all these wonderful, beautiful flyers into the highlights, and designing and working these events. And as I went through the whole list of people, I can't believe I forgot you, because every time I send you a message, I just really feel so bad for you. And you just answered right away, and he puts these flyers together, and they're really beautiful. And Rick, you're just a great friend and a great asset to this community. And on behalf of HELNAC, thank you so much.
Anyone else? Okay. Yes, Jim.
When you went through your agenda, you left out one paragraph about Alyssa's support.
About?
Alyssa's support on security.
Oh, I did.
And I think that needs to be mentioned.
Thank you, Jim. Alyssa, I was so enamored with all the things she's accomplished in our emails and texts as of late that I blew you off. I'm sorry, I really am. Alyssa is in charge of safety on our lake, and I want to thank you. She's done an excellent job with her people, and I don't know how many of you get stopped on the lake, but her people are very polite, and they're very nice. And sometimes, that can be an awkward situation. As Alyssa knows, she's been through some really cool stuff on the lake herself. She's got some stories to tell you. If ever corner her, she might tell you some good stories about the not so nice people that she stops. Anyway, thank you, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. And if there's anybody else I forgot, tell me now, because I'm leaving. I'll take a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All right, there will be an executive meeting upstairs for the board members, including the new board members. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'll be around for a few minutes. What do you think?